making his Animal House radio debut is a veteran actor, star of the hit TV series Chicago PD, now in its eighth season. Please welcome Jason Beghe. Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show tonight, and I really appreciate you taking your time because I know you're in the middle of filming right now.
That's okay. It's a pleasure.
I tell you, I'm a big fan of yours for the longest time, and I go back with you to the First in 10 Days.
Oh my God! I think that thing was recently colorized.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
We're showing our age, Jason. You know,
that's right. It was an early talkie for you young soldiers out there. Yeah.
I was actually, during the pandemic, I'm running out of stuff to watch, so I'm watching reruns of the First and 10, and you played the quarterback, Tom Yanessa. And the funniest scene out of that whole series was, I think you were showing up to camp for the first time, and it was just like this really jerk coach, and he was messing with your last name. He's like, "What is your name, Vanessa?" And you go, "It's Yanessa," like, and you're an asshole.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That was the best line, but that was
a good line. God, yeah. I don't remember. I do. I mean, we had a lot of fun making that show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked like it was a lot of fun. I tell you, during the pandemic, I'm looking for all kinds of stuff to watch because I really don't want to watch the news no more. It's so crazy, Jason. I mean, and I know every channel's got the pandemic, the coronavirus, but I'm trying to watch comedies. Chicago PD is not a comedy, but at least I get to escape for an hour and I don't have to watch the news. But you know what they're doing on the news? You know what it reminds me of? Remember the War of the Worlds broadcast?
The War of the Worlds. Oh yeah.
On the radio where they scared the shit out of everybody and made them like people are jumping out the windows. That's what they're panicking people.
Well, I think that's what happened. News became commerce, and all they want to do is sell soap, and that's my business.
Oh my God, I tell you, I can't. So many questions I got to ask you, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try and.
I'm here. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I heard you say in a previous interview talking about the pandemic, that because you're so busy, you've been on Chicago PD for 9 seasons because it started with Chicago Fire, but we'll get into that. But
right.
The first month of the quarantine was extremely difficult and emotional for you being locked down, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say extremely, but it was not easy. When I think of extreme difficulty, I think of, not being able to put food on the table. But
right.
I had, it was a hard time. Yeah. And it was interesting to me because it was every other day. Like one day I'd be fine. Oh, okay, I'm cool. And then the next day I had these strange emotions that I was not used to, and they were very uncomfortable. But, and I kind of pinpointed into some kind of an anxiety, which I mean, I've had anxiety before, but it's not something that I suffer as much as my peers, I guess.
Right.
But it was really uncomfortable. But I don't mind feelings, So I just after a little while, I just said, okay, let me try and feel this because it's my feeling. I figure, I don't create uncomfortable feelings for me to suffer. They're there to tell me, what's wrong. So I use it, pull the string, and. Did I prevent you from asking the question? Yes, I had some tough.
No, that's fine. I love that answer. You've been living in Chicago. I guess you're an Illini now for the past 8 years.
I'm a what?
An Illini, Illinois.
Oh, Illinois. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I guess I am then. I am a resident of Illinois.
Yeah, and have you? I live in Jersey, but have you gotten used to the Chicago winters yet?
No. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God!
When I first came out for the first season, there was this polar vortex, and I remember one day with the wind chill factor was 75 below zero, And I get in the van to go to work, and the radio's on, and they say, we advise you not to go outside for more than 10 minutes because your lungs might freeze and you could die. And I was out there for like 10 hours in a leather jacket, being this tough guy. They always say, why is Voight so stone-faced? It's that first season. I don't think it ever changed. I got frozen in that position.
Yeah. My mother watches the show. She's a big fan, and she's like, he's underdressed. He's got to put more clothes on. He's going to get pneumonia.
That's what I keep telling Wardrobe. I said, is Voight a smart guy? He's a good cop. Why the hell wouldn't he dress properly?
Yeah.
And they say, no. It has to look like. So I got a jacket that I wear. They finally gave me a little down jacket, but it's nowhere near enough on some of those cold days. But in between takes, I'm standing with another jacket over it, hood, earmuffs, and I'm standing by this heater that's like blasting at 150 degrees.
Oh my God. That's true. It's funny. You have that vest on and you got that signature move where you put your hands inside the vest. Yeah. It reminds me of like Kojak. He had the lollipop. You got the hands in the vest.
It's comfortable.
I can imagine that you're doing it, because your hands are frozen, but I guess that's like,
that's it. Another thing, cops do this a lot.
Yes, right? I noticed that.
And you know what that is? It's because you want to have your hands ready.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah. So you're holding like your vest, and that way, if something happens, you're ready.
Wow, I didn't know that. We had John Cena on about a month ago. Seda. I always say and he's a Jersey boy too, so we reminisced for a while. We had General Martinez on, who was a retired 3-star general. We had such a ball, and he said that and the reason why, and I got to give you compliments, and I know it speaks to acting ability, but there is such a realism to Voight. I mean, I swear to God, Jay, if I didn't know anybody, I swear you were a cop in real life. That's how much realism you bring to that character. And John said, it helps that you have a lot of technical advisors on the set that tell you exactly, Matt, even going into a restaurant and don't sit with your back to the door and stuff. Little things like that make the difference.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things. Well, we have a technical advisor who's so integral to the whole show that now he's become a producer. I mean, he's really the heartbeat of the show, a guy named Brian Luch.
Yes.
And fantastic person. But, also you learn things from him. You do so many scenes. You have to think like a cop. And, after 9 years, I would hope it would start to become somewhat natural. You don't want to work that hard,
I saw in a previous interview, and I actually liked the interview that you did with Julian McMahon. It was like an unscripted type of thing.
Okay.
It was like I think Dick Wolf put them together, put two characters.
Oh yeah, Julian. Yeah, what a nice guy.
I really enjoyed that interview, and it was funny that you said you do have roots here in Chicago. You said your grandfather was the district attorney, so I got to ask you. Great-grandfather. So was he the one that put Capone away?
I don't think so, but there was a very famous case when he was district attorney. He was the one who put in the Chicago, the Illinois anti-lynching law. It was a big, he was responsible for most of the public parks, which if you've been to Chicago, there's that. But he put away there was a famous murder trial of a guy who was the very rich guy who was the sausage king. And he murdered his wife and ground her up in one of his sausage things. And he had him put away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And nobody would eat sausage in Chicago for like many, many months because they were afraid that they were going to get his wife, in the sausage. Yeah. That was like 1904 or something.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
The character of Hank Voight actually originated on Chicago Fire. Originally, it was supposed to be you're supposed to come in for 3 episodes, and it was so well received that you wind up doing 15, and then from there you sprangboard right into Chicago PD.
Right. Sometimes it's good to say yes, you
Yeah.
know.
And what I liked about it is that, like, Dick Wolf himself handpicked you. He said, "I want Jason Beghe to do this role."
That's what I've heard from reliable sources. Yeah. Yeah. Which is flattering. It's funny. Maybe I can find this thing. It might crack you up. He had called me in to do this other show of his
Mm-hmm.
that actually it ended up getting canceled. I think it did a season, but it was Law and Order Los Angeles.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
And I think they were reinventing the show. It had a wonderful oh, here's a great picture of me and Seda. See?
Oh wow.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy, and he said, he says, when you guys get a chance to speak to Jason, you're gonna enjoy him, and I had no doubt though, but
Well, no, John is he's just a little better than the rest of us. But so check this out. So I was doing this character, very interesting guy, based on I was the bad guy in the show. And he was very, very high up in the Secret Service in Canada. Like when the Queen of England would visit Canada, it was his responsibility to protect her. And then it turned out that he had this kind of fetish, and he would rob women's homes and take their underwear. Okay? And it kind of snowballed, and he ended up becoming a rapist and a murderer.
oh boy.
But he was and the thing was, he took pictures of himself in these women's underwear, and I happen to have this is the character. That's the guy.
Oh my God.
That's him.
Oh my God. And you have it on your phone. That's the funniest thing I ever saw in my life.
Well, because our old producer was a guy named Mark Tinker, and he kind of looks like that. Actually, a lot like that.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know about below the waist. I've never seen him with his shirt off. But you know how you can assign a contact? So whenever Tinker calls me,
Well,
this
that comes
is the
up.
picture
Yeah.
that comes up. Yeah.
Oh my God. I did extra work here in New York for SVU, and I got to tell you, and I've heard you say plenty of times that working for Dick Wolf is like one of the best experiences of your life. And I did SVU as a background actor, and it's in and out in 6 hours. It's run like military precision. I've been on some shoots that are like 13, 14 hours, and what I liked about what you said is that when you're working with Dick Wolf and you and the cast, you need to keep it at a certain level of excellence when you do this show, and I love that fact.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't even think Dick can tell you what the magic potion is. But obviously, he's a little bit closer to it than most people. To have that many successful shows is crazy. His
Yeah.
his stats are, he's one of the greatest, averages of all time. I mean, there's a reason he's Dick Wolf, and I think part of it is, he will not compromise in quality. There's a level he will not go below.
Right.
and
Right.
and he also obviously understands what quality is, and so it's a blessing to have him as your. It's not, I don't think. I mean, he's my boss, I guess, but he's our leader.
Right. Right.
He's the force and the motion
He's like the
behind
conductor.
all of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what though? Um, what you mentioned about his shows, though, he has a lot of shows, and the best part about it, and that only speaks to the talent and how he puts everything, the longevity. They're not on for a year. It's 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. So that
That's what I
speaks.
know. I
You know,
know. That's what I'm talking about.
you know.
It's. I mean, how many hours of television has he created? I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
You
And he
know.
does all kinds of stuff too. He does. I think he's got a couple of reality shows that sitting around doing
Yeah.
that are
Eh,
on.
You know what? Especially now, everybody's watching TV. And I have to apologize to you because I'm a little late to the party with Chicago PD because I discovered it during the pandemic, and shame on me for not discovering it sooner. And I'm one of those people, when you binge watch it, I got to start from the beginning. And I watched it, and it's just some of the best shows I've ever seen. I love,
Wow.
you know,
Thank you.
I
Well, you
loved.
don't have to apologize. That's the nature of the business. I people always say to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've never seen the show," and I'm that the we put it out there. It's for you to take or not take. We do our best. Hopefully, you like it. You know, I know some people. That's not their cup of tea. And me, I like nature shows and documentaries. You know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm, since because I've been to Chicago several times. Love the pizza, and because I'm a stand-up comic, so I go to Zany's a lot in Lincoln Heights. I
Oh
perform.
yeah, yeah.
So, I, with the whole, the pandemic, with the thing, and I loved the Elias's character, Alinsky. I
Oh
loved it.
yeah.
I hated to see him leave. I hated to see John say to leave. But I'll tell you what, for me, one of the most pivotal episodes and one of my favorites, when you really hung Denny Woods out to dry. He really got his comeuppance, and everybody struggles back and forth. Is Hank a good guy? Is Hank a bad guy? And I think you said it best. You says, the guy in the Mike L.T. Williamson said, you hurt people. You said, yeah, but I don't hurt innocent people. And I think that summed up Voight's character in one sentence.
That's you're right. That is pretty good. And it's interesting now, because all the reform going on in the policing and all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting moment for him to look at because it's still it's a question of is it what is his job? And that I find interesting, and we're kind of chasing it and trying to find it, and it's an interesting thing, but it's we try to kind of play what's happening, and this is what's happening. And Voight is who he is, but he also, he's able to change and adjust and understand, and he's also able to mold his environment better than other people. So
Right.
we're gonna see what happens, really.
Yeah. You know what Voight reminds me of? I don't know if you've seen the Showtime show, Ray Donovan.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
He reminds me of Ray Donovan with a band. you know, um,
That's pretty
but
good.
but America has such a fascination with police shows, military shows, and mob shows, and I think Chicago PD falls right into that character. You know, with now in the season 8, which is currently being filmed,
Right.
your character realizes that, hey, I can't bring him downstairs in a cage and give him a 2-piece with biscuit like I used to.
Right.
Do you think that viewers are going to evolve and adapt that evolution of Hank Voight? That I got to play it straight now a little bit. I gotta.
First of all, change is hard. And I don't care who you are. If it's a big change, by definition, it's hard, because we get set in our ways. And and Hank has been set in his ways. So, first of all, who knows what's going to happen? Second of all, I'm hoping that, all I can do, any character has to evolve. If the character doesn't change and evolve, just like a person who doesn't change and evolve, they're going to kind of die.
Right.
And so, you get hit by things in life that force you or enable you to change and evolve, and that's what's going to happen. And whether people know it or not, Hank has been changing and evolving over the past 8 years, and he may have a big change or he may not this year, but he's got to keep going, and I think that's part of what keeps him interesting to people.
Right. Because
And
he's
let's say it's interesting, like, let's say a guy, his impulse is to do something, and for whatever reason he can't. That's dramatic. That's interesting.
because
So
with a
hopefully
yeah.
people like it. Oh, your voice went out again. Now you
No,
sound
that's
like you're
okay. I said what's interesting is with Voight's character is you never know he's so unpredictable. And what I also like the fact that, like I said, I heard in a previous interview that you get a lot of input into your character.
I can't. Oh my God, the audio went off again.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. I was going to say that what's interesting is that you get a lot of input into your character.
Well, of course. I mean,
sometimes they don't afford the actor that ability, but I like the fact that you get some to get some input.
Well, I mean, I think first of all, you can't make a good show without a good script, and you can make a bad show with a good script.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to get good scripts, and we all collaborate, and each actor, he's creating that character and that role, and so over time they start to understand who they are, and it's a dialogue, and but doesn't mean everybody's right all the time either.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's what's fun. Acting is fun.
no, absolutely. And, one of the things I like that you guys are doing this year, you're touching upon a lot of the stuff that's been happening in the country with the racism and this and that. And I found it interesting that is you want to make sure that you bring awareness to it by doing a story about it, an episode, but you don't lean either way. And I like to say, you said this, I believe if I quote you correctly, the mantra of the show is that everybody's right.
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. And because everybody has a viewpoint, and even if you're going against your own moral code and doing something, you still made that decision, and that is right for you at that moment. I can't take the pain of resisting. I'm gonna do the drugs or whatever the thing, even if you feel like it's wrong. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I feel like it's better than good guys and bad guys. It's all guys.
Right.
It's just guys.
No, and I agree, and I think that's when you see a successful show, there's so many things that have to happen. Chemistry of the cast, which you definitely got, the talent of the cast, and just the way everybody fires on all cylinders. It's not one person carrying it; it's everybody working. That being said, though, I want to ask you, Jason, because this is your first time with us, and we're just getting to know you. Like, we're big fans, but how did it all come about for you? When did you know that you want to be an actor? Was it at an early age, or?
No, as a matter of fact, I actually was probably the laziest person you ever met in your life. But I had a healthy kind of self-esteem, or at least I thought I did.
Right.
And I just kind of always did what I wanted to do. And all my life, because I was kind of a class clown and a show off and all that, kind of funny or whatever, took a lot of the air out of the room, I guess. And, you know, people often growing up, oh my God, you should be an actor. And I'm like, that's crazy. And I never thought of doing that. And then through a series, I was working in Europe when I was very young. And over there, people were saying the same thing. And so I went back to New York. I was probably 22 or so. And I went to an acting class and I had to audition. And I thought, oh, here's a serious monologue. You know, I didn't even know what that was. And I went in a very serious acting class. And the guy, the acting teacher, he was peeing in his pants. He was laughing so hard. Because I didn't even know it was a comedy, but I played it so straight, he thought I was a genius, which is the way to do it.
Oh, wow.
And at any rate, and then I just started working as an actor I never had to wait a table. I had a great agent, and honestly, my whole life, you know, like most actors, like when you're starting out, you get a job and that's great. And then the job ends and they start pulling their hair out. Oh, I'll never work again. I was more like, wow, I got some money in the bank and I don't have to do a damn thing. And
oh my God, that's so funny.
And I was 50 years old. It was the year of my 50th birthday because I always used to ask, what am I actually going to do when I grow up? And I'd been working as an actor consistently, successfully, done TV shows, all kinds of stuff. And it was when I was 50, or just before my 50th birthday, that I said, you know what? I'm an actor. That was it. So that was, talk about have trouble making a commitment.
That's funny because, you know, it's very interesting because acting wasn't on your radar. But when did you officially, when you started, when did you actually catch the bug and say, hey, I think I could do this here? Was it early or was it later on?
When I was in my acting class, you know, that's why I went to acting class, because I thought I could do this. This is pretty easy. But then I thought, oh, I don't want to go out and embarrass myself. So let me make sure. But I had this kind of boundless confidence. And I was ready to, you talked about First and 10.
Yeah.
So I had done a movie or two, and then I had this big agent, and they said, go to LA for pilot season. And I'm like, okay, what's a pilot? And they explain, you know, it's like a TV. I said, I don't want to do
the guy that flies
TV.
a plane.
They don't want to do TV. And they're like, no, go to LA. It'll be great for you. I said, I'll go to LA if you get me a job out there. So they got me a job on a miniseries with Alec Baldwin. And I was out there, and then I'm going to stay for pilot season. And I worked my ass off. I was getting all kinds of auditions, and I had all these general meetings, and my agent was like, God, they love you. And I'm like, wait a second, what, did they cast me? No. No, I must have gone on like 20 auditions. I didn't get one job. More maybe even. And I go to my agent, I say, what the hell is going on? I mean, you're telling me they're casting this guy. I'm sure I was better.
Right.
You know, what the hell? I don't get it. And he says, you know, the problem is everybody loves you, but you have no experience. Right. And I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to get any experience if they don't hire me? He says,
right.
Just hang in there. It'll happen. And I said, fuck you. I'm going back to New York. I'll be a stockbroker. You know, I'll do some shit. This is stupid. And he's funny. Like, no, please. He said, please. I said, nah. And I went back, and I'm like getting ready to leave town. You know, in a few days. He calls me, one more audition, please. This is great. And I say, okay. And that was First and 10. I got a series.
Oh, that was a great series. But I love that. You don't remember saying that line to the coach? It's Yanessa, as in you're an asshole.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's a good line, though.
That was funny, and like I said, let's take Chicago PD out of the equation here. It's a phenomenal. I'm sure you love going to work every day because that's such a great cast. What was a movie or a TV show that you had fun to do other than Chicago PD? Do you have like another favorite?
You know what? I usually have a good time, and but clearly one of the greatest fun times I've had was Californication.
Oh yeah.
Because David is my oldest friend in kind of continuous operation, and like we've been friends since ninth grade,
Oh wow.
and very close. I remember my mother saw me on that show, and she said it reminds me of you two in high school. And I mean, we just had such a good time making that.
What
Just a lot of laughs. There's a lot of freedom. It was a fun character, and yeah, no, it was
Well,
super.
especially if you have your a close friend doing it, it takes on a little bit more meaning, you know.
Yeah.
Now, when you got into acting, like you said, it wasn't on your radar. Were your parents supportive, or they're like, "No, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer"?
No, my parents weren't. You got to do nothing. No, my parents were. The only rule I had growing up was don't break the law in my house,
Yeah,
and I generally succeeded.
yeah.
Uh, but that no, my parents. No, they gave me a lot, probably too much freedom,
Oh
and
wow.
uh, but they gave me a good education. They were very decent people with good kind of moral compass. My parents were very interesting, highly educated people, very, very intelligent, like
Right.
world class mind. My father graduated editor of the Law Review, University of Chicago, when he was 20,
Oh
and my
wow.
mother graduated, I think, head of her class at University of Chicago when she was 18.
Oh wow. That's
So
amazing.
and they just went off and got married, had kids, and there it was. So no, my parents they looked at me with interest.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
look
that's
at that.
awesome. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
for you.
Yeah, because sometimes we hear that they'd run, because some people, especially the old school Italians and parents back in the day, they don't view it as, they want to see you be, a doctor or a lawyer. But I think that's an old, antiquated um, mentality nowadays. But so in season 8, you guys are filming season 8, and I saw the first 2 episodes, and it's phenomenal. I like the whole Atwater thing that he's got going on. I think it's such and Leroyce Hawkins, he's such a phenomenal guy, the way he plays that character. Um, Without giving too much away, Jason, what can we expect more from season 8 to come up? Is there going to be a lot of twists and turns here? Or
I mean, we've got 3, 4, 5 in the can, and about to start 6 on Friday, and then I've got a general idea about 7 and 8. But there's some fun, well, not fun, but there's some interesting touching in the characters' personal lives coming up.
oh,
And
cool.
then I think going a little bit further back into the what's going on in the world starting in the new year in episode 7 and 8. But as far as that's all that I privy to. Um,
Right.
you know, but we've got good writers, and you know, uh, we'll see. It's such a crapshoot. Like we work hard,
Oh
and
yeah.
and we so many different departments. You see me and you hear the writers, but there's so much that goes in. So many creative people to making the final product, and we work hard and we love our work, and and we do our best. It's like knitting a sweater, kind of.
Right.
And you hopefully, and you package it and you give it, and it's like Christmas. You can open the thing and go, it's great, and you never wear it, but we do our best,
Right,
and
right.
I like to hear the sleeves are a little tight, and I hate that color. I like that information just as much as, oh, you're the greatest, because I want to, I want, it's for you.
Right. You
You
want
know
to
what I mean?
improve. Yeah.
I enjoy making it, but it is for you. It's your sweater.
Yeah.
You know?
I heard you once quoted as saying that the star of the show is the show.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's how I look at it anyway.
And it makes sense though if you look at it. And I just wanted to I got a couple more questions and then we'll let you go. And I appreciate for those people who are fans from day one and someone who's just coming to the party now, what is the one thing you would want them to take away from a character like Hank Voight? What is the one thing that you hope that, I see him as a flawed hero. I'd like to see him have like a love interest because I think, he's been like a lone wolf for too many years. And I think maybe it's time for him to, start getting involved. But I mean, but what is the one thing that you hope that people take away from your character?
I don't hope anything. I hope that he's dynamic and engaging, and all these things, and that they enjoy him. But there's nothing specific. I had an old agent, and he used to have a great line. He says, "If you want to send a message, call Western Union." and I have a lot of things that I believe in and that I care about,
Right.
that deal with all humanity. And I imagine, the character comes from me, and that, there's going to be things that I care about that come through. One thing that he says that the writers kind of got from me, and he has said it, is, the best thing you can be is you. And I believe that.
Yeah.
I really believe in that. And I believe that if you really pull the string on that, there's just a infinite gold for all of us if we can just be ourselves, and it's a life journey. But that's something that I think perhaps, maybe, that would be probably something that I don't hope it, but it would be nice, because I think that Hank, to a large extent, is himself.
Oh yeah, he's
And that
definitely,
it's
yeah.
okay, the fact of the matter is everybody's got flaws. And so we get caught up in becoming, when the key is to be. And you can get better, and you have more power and ability to change if you can be here and then change it. But if you're like constantly looking or going, oh shit, I fucked up in the past, you weaken yourself. And part, like everybody says, Hank is so, intimidating, and, he's scary, it's only because he's really present. He's
Yeah, but
very
that's only one
present.
small aspect of his character. He's like one of the most dynamic characters I've ever seen. He's got so many different facets to him that it's so hard to keep up with. But I think that's what makes him Hank.
He's a human being.
You know.
Uh,
I was gonna have General Martinez sit in, but he couldn't
uh,
make it. General Martinez, just to give you some background, is a retired lieutenant general from the U.S. Air Force. He co-hosts with me sometimes.
okay.
As you know, the show goes out on AFN, so a lot of our servicemen and women will see this and hear it. And he wanted me to relay something to you. As much as everyone always thanks our men and women for their service, and they should do it as often as possible. But he just wanted me to relay something to you that, especially for those men and women who are in those forward areas, Jason, where, they're thousands of miles away from home. And he just wanted me to thank you for your entertainment, because it shows like Chicago PD, where if they get a half hour, an hour, just to sit and unwind from the day, and they come home for a few minutes, by watching TV or connecting with some. So he wanted me to thank you on their behalf for your entertainment value that you provide.
That is so touching. The fact that I can be useful to people like that is, I can't tell you how much that means to me.
No, well, it is, and entertainment value right now, even the people stuck at home with the pandemic, Jason, that they're watching, and you know, even though Chicago PD is a drama, you still get to escape for now. You can forget about the coronavirus, forget about the kids and the mortgage. It's like Calgon, take me away for an hour.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of season 8, and I want everybody who's listening, if you haven't watched Chicago PD, then there's something really wrong with you.
That's true. I
But
mean, actually it's an illness.
And I just, and it's funny. One funny thing that you said is like, you have Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Hope, Chicago Med. You're like, what's next? Chicago Hospice?
There you go. That's me. That's what my final. Yeah, that's funny.
What are they going to show you in a walker with the tennis balls on the bottom?
I'm thinking first I get a rascal.
Right? With the siren on it?
Yeah. Yeah. Or I'll just have a hat that kind of lights up. Yeah. That something like that. Yeah. And then I think a walker, and then a wheelchair, and then a coffin.
God forbid, though, but and I wanted to personally again thank you for your time. I want everybody to watch Chicago PD Wednesday nights, 10 o'clock on NBC. Jason, before we let you go, can I request one small favor of you?
Absolutely.
Would you do a station ID for me?
Sure. What?
Basically, you're just going to introduce yourself, say, hey, this is Jason Beghe of Chicago PD, and you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Hey, this is Jason Beghe from Chicago PD, and you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Jason, thank you so much. I want you to know you have an open invite anytime, no matter what, and continued success, and above all, stay safe out there.
You too, my man, and your listeners. You guys stay safe in every single way you can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Us safe.
Thank you. Jason Beghe, everybody.
Take care.